what you get when you read the fine print. Experience is what you get when you don't. Contest chair, fellow toastmasters, most honorable judges, and guests. I hope to persuade you tonight that experiential learning, that is learning which springs forth from our life and our felt experience, makes education fun and long-lasting. Our family has ample opportunities to do that because we homeschool. That's our personal choice. Many of you here are not into homeschooling. However, many schools are making changes based on what they're learning from homeschoolers. So I hope that when you hear my story tonight, that you will too. My 4 children have never been to school, and I am confident that homeschooling is preparing us well for adulthood. We are learning all the time. One time, it began with a movie. One night, about 3 years ago, my family and I were watching the movie Titanic, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. My daughter Sarah fell in love with the beautiful dresses. Sarah and her brother Malcolm were enthralled by the ornate ship and the tragic details. Eager to learn more about the great Titanic, we borrowed every book and video from our local library. We curled up in bed on cold winter mornings and looked at pictures of the wreck. We read about how she was built in Belfast, Ireland, and talked about why 2/3 of her passengers and crew died the night of April 14th, 1912. We discovered why she was so difficult to find until the research vessel Nor found her in 1985. You know the CN Tower in Toronto? Well, the Titanic lays about 7 CN Towers. That's 12,400 feet deep beneath the North Atlantic Ocean. At that depth, she was hard to find. There's no light, and life there is unlike anything we've ever seen. As luck would have it, the Ontario Science Centre was hosting a traveling exhibit of the Titanic. We became museum members. Many museums offer hands-on exhibits and interactive activities. We saw artifacts. We walked through the decks so that we could see, hear, and feel what it was like to sail the Titanic. We talked about grief, dying, and responding to tragedy. We touched an iceberg. We are learning all the time. I hope this example has shown you that we are learning science, history, social science, and geography while we read, write, and do math. My children tell their friends about what they're learning. They write letters to their grandparents. They enact history through make-believe. We still talk about the Titanic 3 years later. We are learning all the time. We are learning by asking questions, not by answering them. We are learning when we encounter a problem, take on a project, or have a conversation. We are learning from the comfort of our couch, over a meal with our family, and while walking through the woods. My children are growing up knowing each other, and I know them. As far as socialization goes, my children meet up with their friends a few times a week. We are members of the Guelph Homeschool Group. We organize and participate in activities and field events. My children make friends with people with whom they share common interests and values, just like me, regardless of age or gender differences. My children are learning how to negotiate their needs with their siblings, especially when they don't share their understanding or skills. They have the freedom to play, talk about what's important to them, and explore the world from many different perspectives. I believe homeschooling is one of the best ways to socialize our children for adulthood. I understand, though, that many of you here are not into homeschooling. However, we are, all of us, learning all the time. I encourage you to engage your senses, to use your senses of sight, smell, taste, touch, and sound. I encourage you to let your curiosity guide your questions and explore. When we do, we ignite our inborn sense of wonder and awe. Learning is fun, it's playful, it's meaningful. It's the seed of storytelling and speeches told to our friends and family so that we all learn together. John Holt, an American educator and author, a proponent of homeschooling, and a pioneer in youth rights, once said, "Children are passionately eager to explore everything around them. If we try to control, manipulate, or divert this process, the independent scientist in the child disappears. Don't let your inner scientist disappear. Keep learning all the time."